With its recent release on Nintendo Switch Online, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance has re-entered the public eye. And of course, that means we need to ask ourselves, who are the best and the worst characters to use in the game according to my absolutely impossibly accurate opinions. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including coverage of our favorite Fire Emblem titles such as Path of Radiance, discussing characters, making tier lists, doing guides, etc., then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Now of course, jokes aside, I do tier lists for fun. I don't try to have the most cutting-edge opinion. I apply what knowledge I have, discuss what my experience has been with the characters, classes, jobs, abilities, whatever it is that we're talking about, for a fun discussion. Maybe I'll have a hot take. Maybe I have a little bit of knowledge or insight into the way a character works that might give you some different insight on how you want to use them the next time you play the game. It's all for fun, though. Try not to take things too seriously here. You should really be able to tell when I'm really leaning into the I am the most correct man on earth and you shall not question me sort of personality. Like, I try to make it pretty obvious. So, with that out of the way, we're going to run through all of our characters here. We have quite a few. We're going through a typical S through F formation. Just because a character's in F doesn't mean that they're unusable. There's no completely unusable characters in Path of Radiance, of course, but there are absolutely characters that are pretty dang bad. We'll be talking about general use case scenarios here. Path of Radiance is not the most insanely difficult game ever. The character's not particularly customizable, but they do all have their niches, and these rankings will, I think, apply for the most part, whether you're talking about normal, hard, what have you. So, without any further ado, let's get into it with Ike. Ike is, of course, a very cool character. He is one of the poster boys of Fire Emblem, I would say, at this point. He is much better in Radiant Dawn than he is in Path of Radiance, but he is still good here. I've seen a lot of people make the comparison between him and Roy, saying that he's like the equivalent type of character to Roy, and in terms of function, sure. A sword-locked lord with a set promotion time, who gets an uber-powerful weapon near the end of the game, has 1-2 range. I get that. In terms of actual capability, though, Ike typically far outpaces Roy. Far outpaces Roy. He is not the strongest character in the game by any means. However, once he promotes and you can get him Ether, he does get very, very strong, and he can definitely hold his own in the pre-promotion phase when he's fighting axe enemies or on equal footing with sword enemies, the like. His strength gets a little bit iffy at times, but overall, I've had really good fortune with Ike. I think I've had one run of the game over the 25 plus runs I've done over the years. Like once or twice where he's gotten strength screwed, so it really hasn't been that big of an issue. I think Ike is a solidly A tier character. A for Aether, if you will. I really don't think he needs to go any lower than that. He does stay sword locked, which is a little annoying. It's always good to get weapon triangle versatility, but the raw power of Aether is really hard to beat. And again, even before that, he can still hold his own. He's a mercenary. He's a Myrmidon type archetype character. You gotta know how to take care of them, but they'll definitely pull their weight. Now, Titania, for a very different role, but also I think Titania is an A-tier character. She is our sort of, I'd say she's more of an Oife than a Seth. More of an Oife than a Seth. She's not as good as Seth throughout the entire game, but she can definitely hold her own. She'll start to fall off a little bit by the end of the game in hard mode, but she is quite good. She's got good growths. Her bases are a little but I mean, for where you get her in the game and for what you're going to be doing with her, she definitely holds her own. I think A tier is perfectly solid. She's cavalry. She's got axes and lances. She is able to use savior. She's able to double and kill pretty much anything in the game for the majority of the game, or at least the first half of the game if you're on hard. She's nice. She's very, very nice. Even if you decide to just use her and then drop her as you would a typical Jagan, she still does the role very, very well. There's definitely worse Jagans out there. Yeah, I like her a lot. She's a good A-tier character, and if you want to take her through to the end game, then she'll still be usable. Now, Boyd. All three of the green-haired brothers, Boyd, Oscar, and Rolf, I have had such a wide range of success with over the years. But of the three, I think Boyd is always the one that's kind of been the most disappointing to me. He's your starting axe fighter. He's like okay speed. I've always had issues with his strength. He gets bows, which is nice, so you can do some ranged stuff. But really, the thing he's got the most going for him is his HP, and even then, like, it's not... Like, it's good, don't get me wrong, but... I don't know, I've never been super impressed with Boyd, and even on my most recent run of the game that I just did on NSO, I was very close to dropping him multiple times. Really, the only reason I didn't was just because I'd put so much into him at that point, and, like... He could still do his job, but it wasn't very great. I think Boyd is solidly a C tier character. Not quite making it to B for Boyd, unfortunately. There's just better characters out there. His bulk isn't really good enough. His speed isn't really good enough. Even his strength isn't really good enough. You can give him, what is it, Colossus, I think, is his occult skills. Occult scroll skill. It was harder to say than I expected it to be. My apologies. Which is nice. It can be a decent damage boost. But there's definitely better. There's definitely better. Speaking of better, Oscar. Oscar, I think, is solidly a B tier character, and I know I'm probably going to get crucified for that. He is really good in a lot of scenarios, right? He's got Earth Affinity. He could support Ike, so they can both get massive evade boosts. His cavalry, he's good with his lances. If you're lucky, he can roll real hot and be real good. Like my Oscar in my most recent run was absolutely phenomenal, but I've had so many runs where Oscar just fails to do anything. So I think evening it out, he's a solidly B tier character. There's other cavalry in the game that I like more, that have been more consistent for me. I think B tier is where he needs to go. Again, I know I'm getting crucified for that. People love Oscar so much, but I don't know, man. My experience is my experience, and he's just been good. A solid character. I'm happy to use him, but there's better. Now, Riss, or Reese, or Rice, or God only knows how many other pronunciations I've heard people say over the years. Staves are awesome. This is one of those things where it's just like the ability to use staves means that you kind of exist in a class all of your own. And I think that holds true for Reese here. Rice, woohoo! He's not the best staff user in the game, but he is the first one that you get, so by default, he's pretty good. He is foot-locked. He's the only light magic user in the game. He's not particularly great with it. He does decent damage, but he's slow, he's fragile. But just the ability to use staves means he's good at his job, because it's a very easy thing to do. So I think he's very solidly an A-tier character. Maybe we'll bump him down to B, depending on where it is that I decide to put our other staff users that are staff users by default. But he's pretty good. Pretty simple. He's a priest. Gatry. Gatry is, I think... I used to be a lot higher on Gatry, honestly, than I am now. You know, he's slow. He's an armor knight. Goes into general. Doesn't get good move range. You can give him the boots if you want, but he's tough. He hits hard. He leaves for a decent chunk of the game, but not too much of it. His resistance is pretty crap, and that can get him blown up if you're not careful. But you don't fight a ton of mages. Certainly not compared to other Fire Emblem games where you'll get like whole formations of them, or like mixed enemy units that can have magic and melee, and then it's a total nightmare for your armor knights. But I think Gatry solidly also B tier. I feel comfortable with B tier. He gets swords on promo, so it gives him a little bit more accuracy. Accuracy tends to be a little bit of an issue for him. He's great for holding out against swathes of Laguz. Give him a Laguz Slayer Lance, and he will just go to town. He won't take much damage. He'll get doubled, but again, except for maybe like Tigers, he's really not going to get hit that hard. He's a solid contender. He's a good armor knight. Now, there's certainly worse armor knights in the series. There's worse armor knights in this game. We'll talk about that. But I like him. I like him. Gatry, he's a good sort. He's a good sort. Now, Shinon definitely does not live up to his reputation here as he does in Radiant Dawn. Oh boy, he's good in Radiant Dawn. Here, Shinon's solidly D tier. He's solidly D tier. When you first start off with him, he's basically more of a Jagan than Titania is, honestly. He's not really going to kill most things. He's really good for chipping stuff down unless he gets a pesky crit and then kills something that you're trying to use for XP for someone else, which is annoying. But he's good at his job there. Then he leaves for like the majority of the game. And by the time you get him, his stats are god-awful. Absolutely abysmal. And you have basically zero desire to use him from there on out. Snipers are not particularly great in this game. Their occult scroll skill is pretty crap. Putting an enemy to sleep is useless when you could just kill them. Especially if you're using a very limited occult scroll on it. So, yeah, I mean, I like other archers in this game far, far better. Shinon is a major disappointment. He's not, again, unusable. Just the ability to try and help snipe down some bird Laguz is nice. Pegasi, whatever, as well. But you don't generally want him on the team. Not really. Now, Soren. Soren's an interesting one. He's your first mage, Wind Mage. He's limited by the fact that you don't actually get an S-tier Wind Scroll in this game, which is annoying. He's pretty fragile. Not as fast as you would expect, but he does come with Adept, which is very, very nice. And Wind Magic is the lightest of all magic, so it is easier to get him to double. He promotes into being able to use staves. Don't give him knives. Why would you ever give him knives? The fact that it's an option is ridiculous. I think by default, being your only magic user for a decent chunk of the game, and being probably a better magic user than at least one of the other mages, he's in B tier. I really wish he was higher. If he had a little bit more consistent high speed, and then could trigger those Adept procs as well, he'd be awesome. But B tier is pretty good. I think B tier is pretty good. You don't really ever feel bad using him. It's good to have some magic damage on the team. You just need to make sure that he actually gets enough magic to make his Wind Magic do damage. You could also, of course, split into doing lightning magic, fire magic. Then you start running into issues with his strength, because his strength is just awful. It's so bad. And then you've got weapon weight issues, and then the okay speed starts becoming even more of a problem. So, nah, you like to sound wind wherever you can. He's solid. He's solid. He's okay. Now, Mia. Oh, boy. This one's going to get me in trouble. I know. In fact, actually, I think I'm putting Mia there. Shinon needs to come down here as well. I know. I know. She's best girl for so many people. She's got a fun, plucky attitude. She's the first Myrmidon you recruit. But God, dude, her strength sucks. Her strength is so bad. It's rough. She comes with Vantage, which she really can't take advantage of. She's fast, but she does no damage. Her strength takes a while to get going, so using heavier swords is a problem for her. She's pretty fragile, all things considered. Like, even if you get her Astra and you get rolling with, like, you do, like, a Wrath Resolve or something like that, even then, she's still not going to be doing as much as you'd like. You need to put a lot of investment into forging a good weapon for her, potentially giving her energy powder, really making sure that she's survivable. You need to make sure she has good support so that she gets extra attack through that. She's just not as functional right off the bat when you have other characters that fulfill similar roles. Zahark, we'll talk about him in a minute. She's just always been disappointing for me. And while I get like, oh, she's a waifu and she's fun and whatever, and again, the first Myrmidon, she's got a fun design, good color scheme, yada, yada, yada. I get all that. But as a unit, I don't like using her. I really don't. And this most recent run that I just did on NSO proved that. Took her all the way to the end game. And God, I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd swapped her for Zahark. Now, Ilyana. Ilyana is an interesting one. I know a lot of people are iffy on her, but I've had a lot of great success with Ilyana. I wouldn't say that she's necessarily better than Sorin, partially because lightning magic can be very unwieldy to use, but she is the lightning mage of the game. That means that she is more easily than anyone else going to get access to Rex Thunder. She is decently bulky, if I remember correctly, for a mage. For a mage, okay. She can get the speed, but she can hit really hard with lightning magic or thunder magic. And I really like that, considering how overall powerful lightning magic is in this game. I don't think she's necessarily better or worse than Sorin. I think they can go side by side here in B tier. But I do like using her. And the next time I run through Path of Radiance, I'm definitely going to drop Sorin for her to compare and see how fresh my memory is on this one. Pretty much everything else we said about Sorin is pretty applicable to her as well. Again, she does not come with Adept, but she is able to promote into using staves. She's got other benefits. She's going to deal a lot more damage than Sorin probably is overall, just in terms of raw stats. I do like Ilyana a lot. She's definitely a B tier character. Now, Mist. Mist, I think, is our first S tier character. Like Rice, she is a native staff user. She does come in at level 1, but it is so easy to get XP with staves, it doesn't really matter. And then she can promote into riding a horse. And a mounted healer is so good. It just gives you a lot of versatility, gives you a lot of capability to be able to get around, provide different types of healing, rescuing services with both either like a staff or physically picking someone up on your horse. She can use all the different staves that you need. And then she promotes into being able to use swords as well. So if you're able to get her to the point, and yes, I know investment, scrolls, opportunity cost, yada, 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 but she's a phenomenal user of the Sonic Sword. And she's then able to be in the fight with the Black Knight with Ike to be able to help him out as well. I'm literally always happy to use Mist. I use her in pretty much every run. She never fails me. I never need to dump a bunch of BEXP into her or whatever. She's just able to do the thing. And as such, I think she's an S tier character. You can discuss in the comments, of course. By all means, with any of these choices, you can do so. Mist, especially. I know that could be a controversial opinion, but I do really like her. I think she's pretty good. Now, Rolf. Speaking of controversial opinions, boy, Rolf is one of those characters that it's very, very hit or miss. He's a trainee character. I've got a big soft spot for trainee characters. I fully admit it. He is a foot slogger. He winds up going into sniper. If you do train him, he does become quite good. My Rolf was phenomenal in my most recent run that I did, but he has all the same issues that people always talk about. Poor enemy phase, can't counter in melee, has to be able to get enough attacks to keep up with the party in terms of XP and kills and yada yada in the player phase. But his stats are good enough that he's able to kill pretty much whatever you need him to once you get him going. Now, I know there's a bunch of people out there that are just 100% biased against trainee units, but with when Rolf joins, with the type of enemies that you're fighting, with the opportunities that you have to get him experience, if you want to use him for it, he's certainly more than capable of doing so, and he's not a terrible BEXP candidate either. So, personally, I think that Rolf is actually a B-tier character. I like him a lot. I think he's better than Boyd, for sure. Once they both get rolling, he's just dealing so much more damage. And overall, he's decently tanky and dodgy as well, you know, for an archer. So, I like Rolf. Again, you can argue with me. Tell me I'm wrong. It's fine. I get it. But he's actually got a lot more going for him than people would expect, especially if you can get him some easy XP off of flyers. Like, he can still snipe him out of the sky. It's good stuff. Now, Marcia. Marcia, this is another character that I know people really enjoy, but Pegasus Knights are always a little iffy because of usually where their strength is, like their physical strength lies. And I found that Marcia is just not worth the effort to use. I'm going to put her in C tier. She is a flyer, so she does get baseline versatility just because of that. And if you want to invest into her, she can do work-ish. But her strength is rough. Her speed is sometimes not as good as you would expect it to be. She's very fragile. You got to worry about wind magic. You got to worry about bows. I've always had mixed results with her, and I'm pretty much never happy to be using her. Like, if I'm going to use a flyer, I want to use Jill. And we will talk about Jill. There's just really no reason, I think, to go with Marcia. If you're only using one flying slot, if you're going for multiple, then by all means, have at. But I mean, hell, man, I'd rather just wait and get Tanith and use Tanith. Tanith is, for me, always better than Marcia. Always. So, not super impressed, but being a flyer does give her some versatility, and she can do okay things. Now, onto our first Lagoos. This is going to be interesting. The Lagoos are so dependent on if you have Laguz stones and then at what point their transformation meter starts in Path of Radiance. And Leith being the first that you get who is automatically transformed at the start of battle is really nice. However, I've found she's very dependent on difficulty. On normal, she can do fine. She can deal enough damage. She can dodge enough. She has a cat Laguz, so she is sort of like your Myrmidon-esque archetype for the Laguz. But once you get to hard, she becomes a lot more vulnerable. The anti-Laguz weapons will tear her up. Fire magic will tear her up. And she's not dealing the damage that you really need her to. Kind of same thing as Mia. I think she's a lot better than Mia because she's got those Laguz stats. She's got the move range equivalent to cavalry. And she's able to start transform, so she's able to start doing work right off the bat. But I think she's D tier. She's a cool character. Again, I like the concept of the cat Laguz. But out of everything that you can do with her, I would just kind of rather use other Laguz if I'm going to use them, you know? I've never really had much success with her. Maybe C tier. Maybe C tier. But nah, you could argue me on either of these. There is versatility to be had from the fact that she is a cat Laguz that transforms right off the bat, so maybe we can leave her in C tier. But I've never been a huge fan, and I might wind up changing that as we proceed through the list. Mordecai. Mordecai is a very interesting character. He's just such a brick shithouse, man. I don't remember, because I know, I'm just going to pull up his actual stats really quick here, because, yeah, I mean, He's pretty solid. The issue is the fact that he does not start with a full transformation gauge. He starts with an empty transformation gauge, as a matter of fact. And that means it's going to take him a while to actually be able to do anything. And that is a big problem. Once he does get going, he is nasty. But his ability to get XP is going to be rough, especially on shorter maps, especially if you're moving quick to try and earn maximum BE XP. And then once he does transform, there's only a limited number of turns just as a Laguz that he's going to be able to get XP. And then you might have already done a lot of the work to clear out the map, and there might not be much XP left on the board for him. So that can make things really difficult. As such, you're going to be leaning into a lot of BE XP use, using Laguz stones. There's way better targets for Laguz stones. So I do like him a lot. Stat-wise, he's really good, but I think he's better in Radiant Dawn. I think we're going to put him in D tier. It's just the reliance on items and being stuck waiting for the transformation gauge is so rough. It's so rough. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Even though I like the character, I like his stat line, but it's just a rough situation for him all around. Much better in Radiant Dawn. Now, Volk. Volk is an interesting one. Volk, of course, is our best thief in the game. Sorry, Soth. We'll talk about you. So just baseline, he's got really useful utility. I do like that he's actually pretty strong and pretty durable as well, especially once you turn him into an assassin. Then you can give him lethality. Like, he's got a lot going for him. He can become an absolute slayer, but you do need to invest into that. Literally, like, you need to be able to pay to, well, it's a minor thing to have him pay to open chests and doors. Like, that's not a huge deal. But the pay to have him transform can actually be kind of nasty if you're trying to lean into a lot of forging of really high quality gear. So that could be tough, but as an actual unit, he's really good. I think he's an A-tier character. Having the ability to steal, having the ability to open chests or pick locks or what have you, actually being a pretty solid combatant as well. And then again, once he becomes an assassin, you give him lethality, you get stilettos, he can just start tearing stuff up. Volk's really good. I really like Volk. People might disagree with that a little bit, but even though you can't forge knives, once you get stilettos, homeboy's tearing it up. I like him a lot. Nefene! Nefene is a character that is a personal fan favorite of mine and of a lot of people, of course. Some people say Nefene as well. I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of actuallys in the comments about pronunciation for this one. But the issue is she's definitely a character that's prone to getting strength screwed. She's got the speed, she's got the skill, she's got some durability, she's got a lot of options going for her, seeing as how she does have Wrath innately. She's your like default Wrath resolver, which is really strong, but she's susceptible to being screwed by growths, so I don't think I can really reasonably put her higher than B tier. I'm never really unhappy using her, unless she gets strength screwed, in which case it's a problem. Even that you can make up for a little bit with forged weapons and things, but it's a little swingy on if she's going to reach her full potential. That said, just Halberdier, only foot lance user that isn't like a knight that you're going to be able to use. There's utility and versatility just in that. Comes with a good special skill. She's solid. Very solid middle-of-the-road character. Now, Braum, her partner in crime, her partner in farming. Braum's not terrible. I've had good use with Braum, but I mean, if you're going to use an Armor Knight, there's very little reason not to use Gatry other than just availability. And overall, I do believe Braum is just slightly worse in general, stat-wise, if I remember correctly. It's been a little while since I used him. But of the two, I would definitely prefer to have Gatry in Path of Radiance. So I think Braum's pretty much going to be C tier. All of the same arguments that we made for Gatry apply here. He's just a little bit worse. Don't need to go into it overly much as a result. C tier, I think, is where he belongs. Now, Kieran. Kieran, I think, is A tier. And I know, again, people are going to be like, over Oscar, but I've just had more consistently strong results with Kieran. He does more damage in general because he has axes. Typically, I'm able to get him to double. If you really need to, you can give him like swords or lances to be able to help out. He's like Titania, but more physically powerful, right? As such, I've just always found him to be a bit more consistent for me. I really enjoy using him. He's Oscar, but with axes, and to me, more consistent. So I like him a lot. He doesn't have the earth affinity, but he does have fire, so he's able to give some nice strength boosts to himself and to an ally. It's just all around good stuff. Now, Zahark. Now, you want to talk about a character. You want to talk about a Myrmidon. That's a high-quality character. Get my boy up there. He comes with Adept. He's actually able to deal damage. He's the Joshua archetype character. He's still fast. He's durable. I love Zahark. Not nearly as good in Radiant Dawn, unfortunately, but in Path of Radiance, my man slaps. Get him a forged weapon, get him a brave sword, and watch him tear house. I love this guy. Any character that comes with Adept innately is already off to a right footing, I should say, and then he just has so much else going for him. Like, I always prefer the Rutger or the Joshua archetype Myrmidon. I just always do. They always work out better for me. The finesse type of Myrmidon, not as much of my thing. Zahark is just phenomenal. A tier for sure. Soth, F tier. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Unless you are specifically going for a save file transfer for Radiant Dawn, and you want to get the big stat boosts for Soth there, even then, Soth's not a good character, but that's the main reason to use him. Blossom can be fine. The issue is you're going to cap all of your major stats at 20 unless it's luck, in which case it goes to 40. You're just going to get hard locked out of being able to do anything, especially on hard. And it's not like the negligible like 50 gold or whatever it is to pick locks with Volk is going to cost you that much money over the course of the game. Trying to use Soth just for that, not worth it in the slightest. He's an awful character here. I love him, but he's awful. F tier, easy. Jill, speaking of, from the bottom to the top, now here, Jill, S tier character, easy. So easy. I love Jill. She's a Wyvern rider. She's phenomenal. She uses axes. When she promotes, she uses lances. She's got good growths all around. She's durable. She's pretty decently fast. She's very strong. She's able to fly all over the place. If you decide to start using Jill, she will take you through to the end of the game, and you'll be happy as a clam about it. There's really not even that much I can say about it. She's just strong, and she's got a fun design to boot. So, S tier. Easy. Astrid, one of my other favorite trainees in the game. I really like Astrid. Again, starting at level 1 in, what, chapter... When do you even get her? 11? Something like that? Maybe 10. I don't quite recall. But getting her that late is rough, considering she comes in at level 1, and considering she's a bow knight. So you're not going to get enemy phase shenanigans going on unless she's able to counter snipe things, which is dangerous in and of itself until she levels because she is low level. But Paragon makes that leveling process pretty easy. And if you get her going, girl can hit pretty dang hard. I don't know the exact stat growths off the top of my head, but I've always had great times using Astrid, especially if I'm not using like Rolf for a bow user and I want to have one. She will absolutely dominate. Then once you can promote her, give her either swords if you're worried about where her strength is at, or if she's got good strength, give her axes so she can really start slapping. And I always have great uses. I always have a phenomenal time using Astrid. Being a training unit, she can't just like be super high tier, but I do think she is solidly a B tier character. Paragon just makes it so much easier to level her. She slaps. She cooks. She's pretty good. Makalov, C tier, below his waifu. Makalov, he has so much potential, but he comes in at like level 10, I think, as a sword cav with very average middle-of-the-road stats. He can grow quite well, but you got to put a lot more into getting him to that point, and until he gets there, he's going to have a hard time really doing anything. It actually took me many runs when I first was playing Path of Radiance to decide that I was going to give him a shot. Once I did, it turned out pretty dang well, but you got to be very careful about how you get him going, and then just when he joins, you're probably using at least 2 other cavalry, Oscar and Kieran, maybe Titania. You could be using Astrid by that point. It's going to be hard to find a spot to slot him in unless you're doing an Oops All Cavalry run, or you're willing to drop another character who's probably going to be doing better than him on their face at that point. So it's a hard argument to make. He can be good when you use him, but I think he's pretty solidly a C tier character. Stefan is S tier. S tier for Stefan. Like, what do you want me to say? He's a level 8 Swordmaster who comes with the vague Katai. He has Astra. Is he the strongest Swordmaster in the game? No. But boy is gonna tear house through the entire game. Like, by the time you get to the end game and maybe like Zahark or Mia are better than him, he's still gonna be tearing face. Like, the man is an absolute unit. There's really no argument that can be made. He comes with a free ultimate skill. He comes with the best sword in the game. He, again, is level 8 promoted. Homeboy's just awesome. Like, I don't want to hear it. He's absolutely phenomenal. S tier for Stefan. D tier for Tormod, unfortunately. I'm trying to move things along a little bit faster here, but it'll get easier once we get to the pre-promotes, because they don't have as much going for them in this game. Tormod, he's your resident fire mage. If you level him, he's good. But boy, it's starting to get difficult once you get to that point. He comes in at a low level. I think he starts with Fleet Foot, so he's fast. That's cool. That's about it. Like, by the time you get him to promote so he can use staves, he's already just not... He's not keeping up. And he has the stat growth to be able to keep up. Like, I've used every single one of these characters multiple times, but he's really behind at this point. He's very fragile. Ironically, you're going to be best off having him chip away at Laguz, his best friends, to be able to get a bunch of XP as you proceed, but it's going to take so long to baby him up. You're going to be really inclined to use BEXP on him just to make him, like, even with the rest of the team. As a mage, he does have that versatility. He's able to hit enemies' resistances, which are generally lower, so he's going to be doing more damage overall than, like, another character of an equivalent level who has a melee weapon. But his late join time is just, it's rough for him. And his low level, it's rough. It's just rough. Now, Murarim, if I remember correctly, Murarim's bar starts higher than Mordecai's. Let me double check that. That I don't actually remember. It's been ages and ages since I used Murarim. Let me see here. Okay, that was way harder to find than I thought it would be. So Murarim starts on 5. So he'll transform a little bit faster than Mordecai, and he actually has better growth rates, which I didn't realize. So if you're not using the Demiband on him, he'll actually generally turn out better for the most part. But again, you're contending with the fact that it does take him a little while to be able to actually transform. Now, the good thing about this is, since he transforms faster and has better growths, I'm going to put him in C tier. Is he great? No. Can he make good use of the Demiband? Yeah. Are there other Laguz I would rather use? Yeah. I think overall he's fine. If you want to use him and have a brick shithouse Tiger Laguz, then by all means he'll do the job. But they're just not in a great spot because of the transformation gauge and the overall low availability of transformation items. So solid, but not particularly worth the research that I had to put into finding out what exactly his stats were. So let's move on. Devdin, Danvid, the man with the plan, the rhomboid-headed guy. He's a halberdier. It's first of the pre-promotes that isn't Titania. He's a guy. He's solidly C tier. I've used him before. I've done all pre-promote runs before and everything. He's nothing special to write home about. He's got some stats, and he's got a lance, and he can make him work. That's about it. You could give him Luna, just like Nefene, if you wanted to. He doesn't really have any particularly great base skills, so easy enough to decide to give that to him, and then he'll do, again, all right. He's certainly not a bad replacement if you lose a character, if someone gets screwed on growth or whatever. Like, he'll get the job done, but certainly not the best character, certainly not the best pre-promote that we're going to see, considering what we're about to talk about, Tanith. Tanith, now this might be a hot take, I think is an S-tier character. Boom! Tanith already is just a good Pegasus Knight. Every single time I've used her, she's been better than Marcia, even if I train Marcia up to be at an equivalent point when Tanith gets recruited. She's just always equivalent or better than Marcia is right off the bat. Then, she comes with the Sonic Sword, and she's got good magic, so she can actually make use of that. She's a Pegasus Knight, she's a flyer, that's great. And she's got that unique reinforcement ability, which is so goddamn useful, especially on hard for certain maps. Just being able to put that much extra force on the board is so unique, which uniqueness adds tactical value, and is so powerful, which obviously adds tactical value. I think she's easily an S-tier character just for that alone, honestly, let alone the fact that she's actually a very solid combatant herself. Yeah, we all know how good flyers are. We all know how good movement range is. We all know how good extra bodies on the board can be. Have good stats alongside that incredibly strong package while having a really cool, more muted, down-to-earth design as well. Tanith's just phenomenal. I think she's an S-tier character easily. Rayson, I think, is one of the only times I'm going to put a dancer in S tier. Rayson is your Heron. He's your dancer. He does your once a turn, give a person an extra turn dance thing. Cool. Until he transforms, in which case everyone around him gets an extra turn. And that is such an insane force multiplier. Being able to give up to 4 characters another turn while also being able to fly and have long range move is insane. This is the character you want to generally be giving your Laguz stones to. Being able to pop a Laguz stone, having the Heron from turn 2 forward, you have to spend a turn using the stone, to be able to give 4 of your units fresh turns, you will carve through the early stages of a map and set yourself up for success for the second half of the map by the time he untransforms. And if you really need to, you can use another Laguz stone, although you're probably not going to find yourself in that situation too often. Rayson is just awesome. I love him so much. He's always fun to use. He's one of the only times I like using a dancer. He's easily an S tier character. Easily. Now Janaf. Janaf is our next Laguz. This is Janaf, right? I always get these two mixed up. Janaf. Yes, Janaf is the one who immediately transforms. I really like Janaf. He's a Hawk Laguz. He immediately transforms. He's got the benefit of flight. He's got generally better stats than Leith ever does. He can actually kick a lot of ass. He's not physically as strong as Ulki. Ulki do definitely have to... you expect to do a lot more damage, but you have to wait for him to transform because he's got a lower transformation gauge. Overall, though, I think Janaf is extremely usable. If you want to make use of him, he's a very strong character. Baby him a little bit if you really need to. Give him, like, an energy dust if you need to get his strength up a little bit. But even then, he's just able to do good work. He's maneuverable. He can harry enemies that need to be harried, take out priority targets. I like him a lot, and it's not uncommon for me to take him on a team. Ulki is, again, similar. He's got all the benefits of being a Hawk Laguz, and he is the physically stronger of the two. But again, just like the Tigers, he does take a while to transform, so I think he automatically gets bumped down a tier. If you do only want to use one Laguz and you're not using Rayson, then Ulki is a great option for the Laguz Stone. Just be able to get some extra transformations out there. Maybe the Demi-Band, if you really want to play with that, but that could be a little dicey. Definitely not a bad character by any means. The ability to fly and the good stats they have make Janaf and Ulki very strong options, and I'm generally pretty happy to use them. Now we're starting to get into pre-promote land and Laguz Kings and everything, so this should go a lot quicker. Kal-Il is perfectly fine. In fact, of the pre-promotes, she's probably one of the ones that I like more. She is a sage that's stuck using knives, so that is already unfortunate, but she is a mage that can actually do pretty decent work as a damage dealer, so I think we'll put her comfortably in B tier. There's not going to be a lot of pre-promotes that wind up in B tier, I don't think. As a matter of fact, well, maybe 2. I have to extend this tier down a little bit or adjust where my face is. This could start to become a problem as they're going to start disappearing behind me. But as far as Kal-Il is concerned, is she going to be as good as Ilyana or Sarin? Probably not. And actually, yeah, and then she is still stuck with knives. You know what? C tier. Being stuck with knives as a sage is just so garbage. It's so ass. So, yeah, maybe C tier is where she goes. C for Kal-Il. Definitely not a bad mage, but she is automatically worse than these two. So, yeah, that feels right. Now, Torneo, on the other hand, I've had a lot of great success with. If you just want a late-game tank, you can certainly do worse, especially since he comes with Resolve. He's got good weapon levels, he's got good stats, not a ton of levels to go through to, like, get growths, so his growth rates don't really matter all that much. He's just really solidly durable. You can put him on the front line in front of a bunch of physical enemies, and generally he's going to do good work. So being able to just come in and do your job, even if you are like just a general and as such your move is kind of and your resistance is kind of like he does good work. And I'm happy to replace Gatry with him if Gatry is someone I'm using and isn't working out too well. Ranulf. Oh, Ranulf. I don't like him. Takes him a while to transform. He's better than Leith, but he doesn't transform automatically. I think by default, he just kind of goes into C tier. Maybe even D tier, actually. Because, yeah, what is his, let's see. What? I think he's, a 5? A 0, or no. 10. Okay, he's 10. So he transforms a little bit more quickly. Maybe he does belong in C tier. He's a little bit stronger by my memory than Leith is. But it takes him a little bit longer to transform. He's fine if you want to use him. Generally not recommended, though. The Cat Lagoos are never all that great. So I think C tier is comfortable. Har is also probably going to go into C tier. He is not the monstrosity here that he is in Radiant Dawn. His stats are fairly middling for when you get him. If you're using Jill, by the time you recruit him, she will be blowing him out of the water. Again, he's a flyer. He's a Wyvern Lord. He can get some work done. But he's definitely a if I must type of character. Lucia is trash. She's not quite F tier. I still think she's better than Mia just because you don't have to go through the pain of leveling her to get to equivalency with Mia. Maybe Mia will be a little bit stronger, but like at least if you need to use a Swordmaster for a couple of maps and for some reason you're not using Stefan, you can use Lucia. Not a fan though. Definitely not a fan. Bastion, I think, can also go in C tier, and you know, we'll put Joffrey there as well. Bastion, much like Kal-El, is stuck with knives. He does do pretty solid wind magic damage, actually, or other magic damages as well, but he comes with wind magic at the start, if I remember correctly. He's definitely not going to be as impressive as Soren and Ilyana, but at least he comes in leveled, unlike Tormod, so just the lack of staves, that hurts for him, man. Joffrey, he's not terrible, honestly, but the issue is you've got so many other good cavalry by the time you get him, and his base stats and growths are just kind of like, eh. You can use him. Again, he can make a replacement for one of the others if something happened to them, but we're definitely in, like, older style Fire Emblem pre-promotes with these guys where they're just, eh. You're not really happy to be using them, you know? It's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. He can be used. It's fine. Now, I'm going to puff my chest out like the big man himself here. Oh, I have a big opinion here. Largo's actually not bad, man. I'm putting Largo solidly in B tier. I like Largo a lot more than Boyd. I actually he was such a meme for the longest time, right? Oh, yeah, oh, he's the Berserker. But, you know, I like Berserkers, okay? I like Berserkers in Fire Emblem. I think they're cool. And you know what? If you decide to use Largo, he can actually do work. Is he going to be your best character? No. But he can crit. He's pretty decently beefy, all things considered. He's got good strength. You can actually give him a lot of damage output if you decide to use an occult scroll on him. It's silly to do so, I'm aware, but he can do it. I just generally enjoy using him more than Boyd, and he's more consistently useful for his role than Boyd is, who's the closest possible equivalent in my mind. So as such, he gets a bump up a tier from Boyd. Congratulations, sir. It's unfortunate you lose your arm in Radiant Dawn. Alencia, by default, is S tier. By default is S tier. Does she come in at level 1 with generally stats? Yes. Does she have good growths? Yes. Is she a flying staff user? Yes and yes. And that alone makes her S tier. Just that versatility is sick. Then, you add Amity on top of that, an unbreakable brave sword? Listen, man. Say less, right? Say less. Now, you do have the issue of her strength. If you really want to get maximum use out of her, you're going to have to save all of your, again, your energy dust, your +2 strength consumable for her. So there is that investment. But even without it, if you're just using her and you give her some levels, maybe you give her some BEXP, you don't even have to. She's got staves. She could still have the utility of being able to pick off, like, fragile mages and stuff with 4 consecutive slappy attacks. She's good. She's just good. She joins late, but she's got everything that she needs to be a good member of the team. And then any extra investment that you decide to give her beyond that, because you do have it, you're going to be investing stuff in people, will make her exponentially better. I love using Alencia. I think she's very good. I think she's very slept on, actually. We'll see what the opinion about her is here in the comments. Ina. I don't know, man. I think Ina's pretty trash. Like, first of all, to have Ina, you have to be bad at the game and not beat the Black Knight. She's literally the, you didn't do as well as you could, here's your pity prize reward, which really starts to tell you all that you need to know about her. Then, her stats just kind of suck. Like, she's a Dragon Lagoose, and she kind of sucks. It's very unfortunate. Like, I'd rather use many of the other Lagoos rather than her. It's kind of a shame, honestly. I've intentionally lost to the Black Knight once. Or ran away from the Black Knight once. Just to get her. I was displeased with my decision. I think she belongs in F tier. Nasir. Nasir's an interesting one because you only get him for like 2 chapters. I mean, same thing with Ina. But he's actually good. The issue is he does only have a 5 on his transformation gauge. So it's going to take a little bit before he transforms. But once he does transform, he does actually whoop ass. Let me put him in B tier. be behind my head a little bit, but that's fine. He's going to be the last character that goes there. If you do decide to use him for those last couple of chapters, then he will absolutely do work for you. In fact, you have to take him on the final mission of the game. So, like, hey, there you go. By default, he's just a solid character. I don't mind having him on the team whatsoever. Even if I'm not going to use a deployment slot on him initially. Finally, we have the 3 Laguz Nobles, and I mean, they're by default, they're S tier. Like, there's no getting around it. You get to pick one of them for the final mission. They're your get-out-of-jail-free card. A lot more important on hard mode than they are on normal mode due to the changes that happened to the final map in hard mode. But, I mean, they just whoop ass. Even Naysala, who's the weakest of the 3, still whoops ass. Like, you can have them clear an entire half of the map for you while the rest of your team goes and does everything else. And then they can fight Ashnard. So, like, what do you want, man? Like, they can kill almost anyone in the game. They're just S tier. So, yeah, not really much to be said there. And somehow I don't think there's going to be too many complaints about that placement either. And there we have it. That is the tier list for Path of Radiance. Pretty solid tier list overall. Do I want to move anybody? Our actual S tiers feel normal, fine, good. Pretty happy with all those. A tier also feels pretty solid. Again, I feel like I'm going to catch a lot of heat for my Kieran placement, but I'm confident in it. I'm not going to move it. B tier. Don't think I need to move anyone down or up. Realistically, I like where everyone is at there. C tier. I almost want to move Bastion down to D. Because I don't like him as much as Khalil as a mage. They're both stuck with knives. Yeah, that works. That works. I think that's good. I think I'm okay with that. That feels like a pretty solid tier list, if I do say so myself. Of course, I am curious as to what you guys think, what your opinions on this are. As Fire Emblem fans, I know you have opinions. You're a very opinionated people. As am I, of course, so I get it. Let's have some lively discussion in the chat. Try and keep things respectful. These tier lists always tend to get people heated, but as I said at the beginning, we're not trying to take it too seriously here. These are my thoughts, my opinions, based on my subjective experiences and my thoughts. But I love Path of Radiance, man. Playing through it again for the first time in actually a few years now because of NSO and because I hadn't really had time previously. It was an absolute joy. I cannot wait to blast back through again multiple times. We're going to do it on stream, all that type of fun stuff. And maybe my opinions will change as we play more again and I refresh my memory even more. But for now, I think this is a good place to call it for now. Of course, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope that you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.